Okay.
So today we met with Adam Hyde of
Please introduce
Booktype.
yourself.
Hi, I'm Kathi Fletcher. I'm a Shuttleworth Fellow, and I work with OER pipelines and publishing and creating OER and sharing.
Open educational resources.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
And today we met with another project leader, Adam Hyde, with Booktype. They are a place where people can create documentation and education and create books in many, many different formats.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talked about how we could all work together on three different things, really: on taking documents from any format that people have created them in, and converting them to a more uniform format.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there going to different outputs: PDF, EPUB, Mobi, Kindle, web formats. And then also on creating an editor that will really solve a lot of problems for these projects that are trying to do this kind of editing and be easy to use for teachers, for anybody who's used to using Word or Google Docs. They can use this editor. And all of our projects, at least 3 to 4 projects, can all make use of this, and we're hoping to encourage more people.
Would this editor strip all that formatting nonsense?
Yes,
that's
exactly.
the issue? Uh-huh. Okay,
Exactly.
that'll be good.
And the editor will help you to create semantically structured content, and then also something Adam is interested in: if you want to create a design for a specific output, like you're going to print this, then you also can use the same editor to do design layout, but it'll still keep those two things separate in a very nice way. You'll keep the structure separate from the design and looks of the document.
That's the way to go, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely.
So basically the collaboration resulted in you all collaborating on this editor? That's the main outcome?
Yes, and we are planning to do a sprint, hopefully in Berlin, hopefully in July.
When would you hope to have this editor done by? Like a workable minimum feature product?
Well, we hope to have something that we can really show off and start to do things with in, say, 6 months' time, and continue with all these different groups working on it, continue to work on it, make it more and more useful over time.
What kind of niche does Booktype take versus Connections, or when you talk about
Booktype came from the open source manuals. We have open source software, we need to document that. It has nice community processes. They do these book sprints where they bring people together and all work together to create a manual over a weekend, or over a week. It's more like a week. Connections came more from university and K-12 focused building textbooks. So those are the areas they came to, but there's a lot of overlap between the two.
What's the main difference? Because both are about creating books, right? I'm trying to get an understanding of this. If they're both about creating books, where is one favored over another? Is it just it's got different user communities, or?
This is just my personal opinion, but when you look at Booktype, it's very focused on authors and the creation process, and they do a very nice job about that. That's one of the things I'm really excited about. And Connections is much more about the learning side of it, the using of the content side, and then also has built some of the same things to take, create once content, make content in it very much. So they have more metadata, more remixability.
For CNX
Yes,
Connections?
they really started with this idea that you must have a structured document.
Does Booktype end up with structured documents, or basically just HTML?
It's HTML, but it tends to be a simplified form of HTML. They don't limit in any way, but if you have things that they don't deal with, that just doesn't show up. So
it would be easier to remix in CNX rather than Booktype? Like Booktype is not so much for remixing, or?
They do remix. They have this idea that you could take a chapter and clone it and make a new manual out of that. They don't concentrate at all on things like exercises, examples, glossary terms. They don't do any of that more semantic stuff that's education geared like Connections did. We're really looking at how can we do it all if we work together.
Okay, that's excellent. Well, thank you, Kathi. Congratulations on being a Shuttleworth Fellow. And Helen?
Hi.
Would you mind being videotaped?
Not at all.
Thank you.
So can I just add to what Kathi was saying?
Yes.
Is that for me it's all about process, right? And the point of entry into the process. So in book type, as I understand, like people come together and they have a real need to create something, as opposed to the process of connections where you see with the Sea of Ula project, it's about creating those modules that then can become part of a whole. Is that well explained, Kathy?
Yes.
Excellent.
Give a 30-second on Sea of Ula project, because nobody in the audience knows that.
So the Sea of Ula project, everyone in the audience should know this.
Yes.
So it is born from a guy in South Africa, Mark Horner, he is a physicist. And the idea was born from a place where he was giving a seminar to a bunch of kids, and they were desperate to, at the end, to like get his notes of the project, of what he was saying. And the crazy thing is, he was saying, no, this is all in your textbooks, you can get all this information is all out there, and they just didn't have the ability and access to those texts. So him and a bunch of friends sat down and created something called Free High School Science Text, which was essentially volunteers coming together, writing up their notes and putting them in a usable format so people could have access to textbooks.
High school level.
High school level. And they created what was actually the most incredible project. The world was like theorizing about open educational resources, and him and his friends actually were creating them in a totally open format, using volunteers, processing this data and making it into something that was an incredible project, which is now transmogrified into today the South African government has actually been printing and distributing these as their core text for learners. There have been over 2 million copies that have been put on desks. So grade 10, 11 and 12 science and maths have gone on to desk this year in South Africa. Plus there are people who are not only sponsoring more grades, more levels, more topics, because it's about the process of teacher engagement. There are the actual government, the DBE, the Department of Basic Education in South Africa, are instructing Sea of Ula and giving them the capacity to create more books on their behalf that they will then be able to distribute.
That project is growing right now, or?
That project it's not growing, it's going into the stratosphere.
Out of control. Okay, well this is Helen, the CEO of Shuttleworth Foundation. Thank you for selecting Kathi, and thank you for selecting me to be a fellow. By the way, the Shuttleworth Foundation is the greatest foundation in the world. Why? Because if you compare it to things like even Rockefeller Foundation, the Shuttleworth Foundation actually gets you more support, more financial support in a period of time than any other foundation I know of. So for full transparency, I'm actually receiving $360,000 from the foundation to be spent in 1 year. So that's awesome, and you can actually reapply for this. So try to beat that. Well, thanks a lot. That's about all.